With this pandemic going on, it has gotten a lot of people thinking about surviving. And it got me thinking, if we were quarantined tomorrow for an indefinite period of time, I just wondered how long could my husband and I survive on the food that we already have in our pantry, fridge, and freezer. So I went through our pantry, fridge, and freezer, and I counted the calories of every little bit of food that we have, and I totaled them up to find out how long we could survive quarantine. So this video is not meant to be an instructional how-to, this is what you should have in your pantry at all times to survive a disaster. I might do a video like that later, but for now I just wanted a very honest look of just at any given moment in time, what kinds of things do we have stocked up, and then how much food is that? How long is that going to sustain us? And calorie count is the best way to find out. So let's go through all of my food and see what we got. This is cacao nibs that I got in Oregon. I've only used a tiny bit of these, so 6 ounces of cacao nibs. This is about 2 cups of candied ginger, 3/4 of a cup of pepitas, pumpkin seeds, 1 cup of dried cherries, and half a cup, this is probably more like a 1/4 cup of hazelnuts, and a cup of chopped almonds, 2 cups of popcorn kernels, an unopened 11.5 ounce bag of dark chocolate chips, 51 vanilla chips, I counted them, that's 140 calories, and about 1/3 of a pack, so 4 ounces of butterscotch chips, a cup of golden raisins, a cup of cashews, 3/4 of a cup of almond meal, and a 1/4 cup of walnuts. We have a 1/4 cup of shredded coconut, 1.5 pounds of powdered sugar, and this is powdered milk that we got in Quebec while we were visiting my husband's parents. It was a 500-gram bag, and we used some of it in Quebec to make them some gulab jamun when we made them Indian food. And since we returned home with the milk, I added pretty much the same amount of powdered milk that I already had at home back to the bag. So I'm just going to call this 500 grams of powdered milk. And here I have a tablespoon of cornstarch. It's almost empty, and that's only 30 calories. Since I like to keep a fully stocked pantry, I already got another unopened full canister of cornstarch, 16 ounces. I don't like ever running out of things. This is about 3/4 of a 4-pound bag of masa, so 3 pounds of masa. Use that to make corn tortillas. And this is a whole container of oatmeal minus 1.5 cups that I used to make oatmeal cookies earlier. Otherwise, it's full. This is a 28-ounce box of instant mashed potatoes that my husband had before we got married and moved in together. And as you can see, this is about where it comes to, so it's about 80% full. And this is 4 cups of cornmeal. This is not yogurt, it is leftover deep fry oil that I save and use in other cooking. That's about 2 cups. This is about 10 ounces of tahini. And this is a 40-ounce jar of peanut butter minus 1/4 of a cup that I used in peanut butter cookies recently. This is about 1/3 of a cup of honey. It's crystallized, but it's totally still good. This is 2/3 of a 24 fluid ounce jar of molasses. And this is a box of graham crackers, but it's been opened, and we've used some of the graham crackers for cheesecake crust. There are 14 graham crackers total left in here. Box of gelatin that I've been nursing for the last... Anyway, I've been very slowly using the gelatin, and there's about 180 calories worth of gelatin packets in here. So between this like tablespoon of bulk cocoa powder that I got at Winco and the 1/4 cup or so left in this container, I've got about 50 calories of cocoa powder. And here's a section of my pantry that is calorie free, but just for note, I got some espresso powder. Lot of salt, even more salt. This is still left over from my $40 month. And an almost empty thing of baking powder. There's like a teaspoon of baking powder in here. And again, because I like to stock up before I run out of something, I have a whole unopened container of baking powder. And this little thing of cream of tartar. Also, while I'm at it, noting things with no calories, here is a bunch of spices. Here is a bunch of more spices. And here's some more spices and extracts. Now this is like flavored sugar, and these are pearl like decorations for cakes and cupcakes, and those do have calories. That would just sort of be out of sheer desperation. I'm not going to count those for the purposes of this video, but hey, there's still even more calories. And here's a bunch of unopened things. I perpetually have unopened things in my pantry because I like to have things stocked in case I can't get to the grocery store for a while, in case there's an emergency. So these are a lot easier to calculate. I have an unopened 16-ounce bag of rigatoni. I always have lots of dried pasta. I'm actually kind of low on dried pasta at the moment. And I've got a 48-ounce bag of spaghetti. And I've got 3 like deluxe spicy ramens. These are bigger than usual ramens. Unopened bag of dark brown sugar. This is 32 ounces. And an unopened jar of honey, because I was almost out of the other honey. This is 32 ounces. Last but not least, this instant vanilla pudding. This is something my husband had before we moved in together. It's just been sitting around forever, but hey, it's still edible. And here is round 2 of my pantry. This stuff I actually keep in bookshelves in the living room because we live in an apartment and there's never enough room in our pantries in apartments for serious cooks like myself, so I have to improvise and use other parts of the apartment to store stuff. So let's go through this. We have an unopened jar of Apricot Preserves. I don't know how old this is. My husband had it before we got together and moved in together. But anyway, 18 ounces of Apricot Preserves. We are actually pretty low on canned goods right now. Usually I have more canned tomatoes than this, more canned milk than this, and usually I also have olives and coconut milk. That's pretty much all the canned goods I keep, but I usually keep like more of it than what I have right now. Anyway, 4 cans, 12 ounces of evaporated milk, and 2 28-ounce cans of diced and crushed tomatoes. So I forgot that we also keep giant bags of rice and like drinks behind and around the microwave. So there's also this. So we've got, my husband has a Coke addiction. It's his Coke habit. So 2 2-liter bottles of Coke, a 3-liter jug of pineapple orange guava juice. My husband also really likes this. And then behold all of our rices. This isn't even all of our rices. This is just like the bigger bulk rices. So half of a 4-pound bag of black rice, a 4.4-pound bag of Calrose rice minus 1 cup because I made 1 batch of risotto with it. About 3/4 of this 20-pound bag of basmati rice. Oh, it's heavy. And once again, about 3/4, from maybe about 65 to 70% of a 20-pound bag of just generic enriched long grain white rice. And there's also food on the table that we keep there. Usually I have fruit, but the fruit bowl is empty at the moment. We've got 2 bags of these sun chips that my husband really likes. This Kind bar that I'm just sort of saving for an emergency if I have to grab something quickly and go somewhere. Hasn't happened yet. And I pretty much always have cookies on hand that I've made. This is peanut butter cookies. And this is like a mostly eaten box of crackers. There's 7 crackers left in here. So, funny story, proof that I am my grandma's granddaughter. Rest in peace, Grandma. This container is labeled rice, but I don't keep rice in it. I've been keeping whole wheat flour in it, so consequently I didn't realize that I had whole wheat flour. I thought that this was all the whole wheat flour I had, so I bought more whole wheat flour. And so this is all the whole wheat flour that I have. Looks like I've got a little over 12 pounds of whole wheat flour right here. So actually getting slightly low on all-purpose flour. I got about 6 cups here. This is usually where I would go and buy another giant 10-pound bag of it, but I can't right now because the stores are all sold out and I'm not going to bother. Actually also kind of low on white sugar. Between this and this little bit in the sugar bowl that I use for my teas, I only have about 4 cups of granulated sugar left, but I've got a cup of maple sugar from Quebec. I also have about 6 cups of semolina flour. This is actually labeled correctly, wow! And then I've got 1.5 cups of dark brown sugar that I got in bulk at Winco and stuck in here. And then an unopened bag. This was the second to last bag of bread flour that they had at the store. They had no all-purpose, but I wanted specifically white bread flour because I was out of it and I managed to get one. I was tempted to get both bags, but I didn't want to hoard. I wanted to give somebody else an opportunity to have bread flour, so a whole 5-pound bag of bread flour. And the last thing on this, again, this is sort of my husband's thing. I don't really like drinking empty calories, but he does, and I don't really like instant spice cider, but he does. So there were 10 pouches total in here, but there are actually fewer than that in here. Actually, no, there's more because I consolidated. There's 12 in here. So these are the oils and vinegars and sauces and such that I keep up there. These are the ones with no calories, so pretty much all the hot sauces. Now, these probably have some calories in them, but the serving size is like a teaspoon, so it's basically 0 calories. And then rice vinegar, no calories. I thought that this was apple cider vinegar, but it's apple cider flavored vinegar. I was so heartbroken when I found that out. Read your labels. But anyway, no calories. I mostly just use that for cleaning, to be honest. And then this rose water that I got, it doesn't even have nutritional information, but I figure it's 0 calorie. And now we have the things that have a little more calories. So some of these are vinegars and sauces that have calories. And the rest of these over here are pure fat, so they're going to have a lot of calories. So red wine vinegar, that actually has calories, barely. It has 20 calories per serving. Half a fluid ounce is a serving. It looks like there's about probably like 4 fluid ounces in here. Then I got about 80% of a 17-ounce bottle of balsamic vinegar. And then we have a couple unopened condiments. I'm actually not much of a fan of store-bought condiments. I just don't think they generally taste good, and I prefer to make my own. My husband had this from way before we even moved in together, soy honey garlic sauce. And then some friends gave us this spicy ketchup, and it's like Indian ketchup. It's supposed to be good. They like it. You know, I'll give it a chance. It's probably all right. I like ketchup. This is also unopened. I just ran out of the other one of sesame oil that I already had, so an unopened 11 fluid ounce bottle of sesame oil. So I've got about 2/3 of a gallon of vegetable oil, and I've got half of a 33.8 fluid ounce bottle of this really, whoa, I almost dropped it, really expensive, really good, high quality olive oil. I love it so much. And about 60% of this jar of ghee. It is a 3.5 pound jar. We love Indian food, so we always have a lot of ghee on hand. And we have a mostly full 15 fluid ounce bottle of coconut oil. It's like minus 2 to 3 tablespoons that I use to make popcorn. This is good. And here's our last, like, cupboard that has actual food in it. Now, this over here is all spice. We have a lot of spices in our apartment, in case you haven't figured it out, and we actually use all of them. We put spices in everything. We love spices. Up here, however, is where there's some actual food, so let's examine that. Here's some more rice and some beans. I've mentioned it a few times, but I really don't like beans, so we don't eat that many here. I usually have chickpeas, though, on hand, and I'm out of chickpeas at the moment. That was another thing I was going to stock up on, but can't right now, because apocalypse. Anyway, I've got about 1.5 cups of these navy beans, and this is a cup of sushi rice. This is like 2 tablespoons of basmati rice. I forgot that I had this. I was getting it bulk before I got the big bag, so I'm just going to add this to the big bag that I have. Consolidate. This is about 1/3 of a cup of brown rice. We do need more brown rice. And this is a cup of bamboo rice. It's white rice that's been injected with bamboo juice, which is what makes it green. It's really neat. Check out my St. Patrick's Day video, and you'll see me making sushi with it. And I got about 3 cups of couscous. Makes really good salad. And I got about half of a 1 kilogram bag of Panco breadcrumbs, the best breadcrumb as far as I'm concerned. I got about like 80% of a 907 gram, 32 ounce, 2 pound bag of sesame seeds. And then I've got a couple seaweed products. I got about 40 sheets of nori seaweed paper. This was like 100 sheets when I got it, and it's taken me a very long time to go through it. And then this is wakame, cut wakame. It's almost a full bag, 1 pound. Not very many calories in these, but they're very nutritious. So this is my tea stash. At any given moment, this is also some of my tea stash. At any given moment, I like to have like lots of different kinds of teas, and I like to have lots of different kinds of teas on hand. Last I checked, I have like 2 months worth of tea. So even though it's 0 calorie, it's you know, really nice to have your daily cups of tea during a crisis. Okay, aside from the candy that my husband and I keep by our sides of the bed, this is pretty much the rest of our pantry food, and this is almost all Torani syrups. We like making our own homemade sodas with these. That's pretty much what these are for. And then we have a little bit of alcohol. We don't drink alcohol really, but I use it in cooking. So this is an unopened bottle of red wine. These are both 750 milliliter bottles of alcohol. This one's about 1/3 of the way full. This one's 2/3 full. Triple sec and Kahlua. Then we have all of our Toranis in various stages of emptiness. These 4 in the front are full. We always buy these in big batches direct from the source because we get free shipping if you spend like 50 or 60 bucks. But yeah, I'm going to calculate all of these based off of how much I have left in each bottle. Now, of course, these aren't like nutritious food or anything. It's really just sugar water with flavoring. But since I'm pretty low on white granulated sugar and I like sweetening my tea, like a lot of these are actually really good to sweeten tea and coffee as well. That's like how most people use them, but we use them to make Italian sodas. And I do have a lot of, I still have like a whole unused fizz canister and a mostly unused fizz canister in my soda stream. So I'd be able to make a bunch of sodas with these, but after we run out of fizz, we would still be able to use them to like sweeten plain water or to sweeten tea, like I said. So yeah, definitely some use to these, and they have calories, so they will give us energy.
Look who else I found in my pantry. Hermione, what you do?
Does Mommy smell like syrup? Oh, I smell very interesting. And now we have moved on to the next phase of chronicling my stash. What's in the freezer? The very, very full freezer. So first, let's look at the door of the freezer. I've got half a pack of edamame, a frozen banana. These work pretty well in like smoothies or banana bread. These are heels of Parmesan cheese. I just toss them in soups or sauces, so I'm not really going to count these as food. And I got about 20 ounces of frozen pork shoulder. I usually like to keep some raw frozen meat in the freezer in case I want to improvise something quickly with meat. And I got 2 packs of butter. I love stocking up on butter and keeping the excess in the freezer. Freezes super well, so it doesn't go rancid and you can get it out of the way. And butter's lovely and wonderful and tastes good. So here is all the stuff that was at the bottom shelf of my freezer. 0 calories, ice, but just noting that it's there. My husband has like cravings and food that's nostalgic to him, so, you know, from his bachelor days and from his childhood days. He loves, like these were always a special treat for him, Marie Callender's pot pies. I can make pot pie as well, and I make it sometimes, but you know, if I'm not around or if I don't feel like making him one, it's nice to be able to pop one of these in the oven. Anyway, unopened box of 4 chicken pot pies. Also got these as a treat for my husband. I made us some gyoza dumplings for Chinese New Year, and he loved them so much. He wanted more, and they're a real drag to make. I make them from scratch. I even make my wrappers from scratch, so they take forever. So I bought these at the Asian market to see if they were any good. This is an unopened 2-pound bag of gyoza. Okay, so this is 2 ounces of Swiss cheese that I had left over from when I made burgers and I ran out of meat and I didn't want the cheese to go bad, so you can freeze cheese, people. It works. Also from that excursion, 4 burger buns. I ran out of meat and, you know, I didn't want to make more burgers at the moment, so I'm freezing them for later burgers. You can freeze bread. This is a jus, a dipping sauce that was left over from when I braised a roast. There's like a cup of it. I don't really know how to calculate how many calories there is. I'm just going to say there's 100 calories in here, but there's probably more. I wouldn't be surprised. That'll be a great base for a stew. And then, speaking of bases for stews, these are vegetable scraps that I've been cutting up and freezing. Mostly just carrots, onions, celery tops. There's even some chicken bones lurking around in one of these somewhere. I haven't had chicken recently. I had way too much chicken before because I bought a bunch of it accidentally, and turkey, so I got sick of chicken. So I have a bunch of vegetables that are piling up, but no chicken. But yeah, this is for making broth. It has no caloric value really, but it's just there. As I mentioned, I like making my own sauces. This one's starting to crystallize. We should probably use it pretty soon. Anyway, this is a Polynesian sauce for a Maui Zowie pizza that I tried to replicate. I did a pretty good job. That was like a few months ago, so yeah, we should just make another Maui Zowie pizza when we can. And this is a tamarind ginger garlic sauce that we use when we make duck, basically. Don't know how many calories these sauces are. I'm sure they have some caloric value, but I'm just gonna not count them. So this is some buttermilk that I just wasn't ready to use. I think I used like a tablespoon of it, but I didn't have any use for the rest of it. It's bulging out like it does when it expands. So I'm pretty sure this is close to a full quart of buttermilk. This is extremely delicious, Oregon salted hazelnut, and I'm hungry. I can't read straight. Oregon hazelnut and salted caramel ice cream. Oregon is state. It's just south of us, and it's known for its hazelnuts. Tillamook is a brand that's from the area. Anyway, it's mostly gone, and we're probably going to eat the rest of it tomorrow, actually. But there's like two-thirds of a cup left, and then this is a homemade brownie that I froze. And then in here I have about a cup of cooked pinto beans that I just couldn't eat, so I froze them. I'll probably chuck them in a chili later at some point. Okay, and this is the top shelf of the freezer. As I mentioned, I am my grandmother's granddaughter, so I recycle a lot of my old like feta cheese and yogurt containers, and it would be a mystery what is in all of these if I didn't keep a document on my computer chronicling everything. So do that if you're like me and save a bunch of stuff. So in these 3 containers, we have all but 1 serving of that curried lentil dish I made during my $40 grocery month. It was week 2 of the series, so check it out if you want to know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I ate 1 serving of that, like for the videos, and then I froze the rest of it for later because I knew it would freeze well. So I have basically 6 meals worth of lentil in here if I make whole wheat roti to go with them. And then also from that $40 food month, I have 3 servings of the gnocchi. I added Parmesan cheese on top of them because I had like old parm that was gonna go bad anyway, so I figured, well, I'm gonna freeze some of the gnocchi anyway. I'm just gonna put parm on top of them. And then these 2 containers, I have leftover chili from that $40 month, 2 servings. And in these 2 containers, I have leftover rice pudding, 2 servings worth from that month as well. And we have a few sauces here. This is homemade pizza sauce from that homemade round table pizza I made. Check out that video. That pizza was delicious. I used about half the sauce that I made, and this is the rest of the sauce that I did not use. Just froze it for later. This is like 2 tablespoons of homemade apple barbecue sauce. It's been a while since I've done barbecued pork. Should eat that pretty soon because it's taking up a lot of space in such a big container. And then this is some leftover Genovese sauce. If you follow me on Facebook, you saw that I made Genovese. It's an onion-based sauce, and it's delicious. This is 2 servings worth. And this is some frozen cheddar cheese that I just couldn't eat before it went bad, so I froze it. And here's just a bunch of random stuff. This is a cup of homemade chicken broth. Usually I have much more chicken broth than this on hand in my freezer. I'm actually getting kind of low. Again, I haven't been eating chicken very much, so I just don't have very much, which is a good thing because my freezer's full anyway. This I need to use up because it's in such a big container. It's chopped up Thai chili. They sell it in giant packs at H Mart where I buy a lot of my Asian ingredients, and I can't eat it all on time before it goes bad, so I just chop it up and freeze it, and it works really well. This is like about half a cup of rhubarb juice concentrate that I made from rhubarb from a friend's mom's rhubarb plants last summer. I should use that up. I was actually going to use it in a cake. I had a plan for it. And then this is homemade raspberry rose jam that I made last summer. It's about a half a cup left. And last but not least, we have our frozen produce. We have about 1.5 cups of frozen mixed berries and about 2/3 of this giant Kirkland bag of green peas. Okay, last step. Let's see what I've got in my fridge. And here's everything that was in the door of the fridge. So first, let's look at the condiments. As I said before, I don't really like condiments unless I make them myself. Most of these are for my husband. Some of these are for me. Anyway, we've got sriracha, of course. That's basically 0 calories. These pickle chips, also basically 0 calories. And this yellow mustard, as much of a food snob as I am, this is my favorite mustard. I like just generic yellow mustard. And it's also basically 0 calories, so it also doesn't count. The rest of these condiments do have some calories, some more than others. We have about 1/4 cup of dill relish here. And then we also have pretty much a full unopened 10 fluid ounce jar of sweet relish. We've got about 1/4 of this jar, 30 fluid ounces of mayo. I smelled it. It's still good. Be careful. Sometimes mayo can go bad on you. Some mild banana pepper rings. It's about half a container, 16 fluid ounces. Surprisingly enough, these actually do have some calories. Sweet and sour sauce. This is all my husband's. I think he had this before we moved in together as well. He's been slowly using it up. It's about half a bottle. And a little less than half a bottle of sweet Thai chili sauce, also my husband's. This stone ground mustard, I like this stuff too, but I kind of have to be in the mood for it, and it has calories, unlike the yellow mustard. And there's like about 1/4 of this little jar left. And good old ketchup. I actually like ketchup just fine. There's lots of sugar in ketchup, fun fact, so this does have calories. It's about half of a 1-pound bottle. This is also 0 calories. It's just water, and this is the SodaStream bottle that I put in my SodaStream machine to make fizzy water. I highly recommend that. If you like homemade sodas and fizzy water, you'll save a lot of money and a lot of plastic as well. I've got a link in the video description below if you want to buy one. It's a good investment. Anyway, 0 calories, but just thought I'd note it. The rest of the things in my door, this is basically like things that are in progress, like I want to know that they're there and that I still need to use them so that they don't go bad. So anyway, here's about a half a cup of blueberries. We're probably going to eat these today. Also, more condiment-y things. This is like 3 cups of pine nuts. I love buying them in bulk and Winco because they're so expensive otherwise. And I got this little bit of ginger. I always have some fresh ginger on hand. That's pretty much 0 calories. This is a block of tamarind. Takes a while to use this. I use this to make sauces. And this is a hunk of Parmesan cheese. Pretty much always have some of that on hand. This is about a cup of black sesame seeds. One of these days I want to show you guys how I make my black sesame like cake and pudding and stuff from scratch. It's so good. If you have never been to Japan or other parts of Asia, you probably don't know how wonderful black sesame seeds are, but they taste wonderful in desserts. They kind of remind me, they're like a cross between peanut butter and coffee. I don't know really how else to explain it, but they're delicious. I got 3 giant lemons. Always have lemons on hand. I also usually have limes on hand as well. These are starting to look a little old, so I might actually use them as a hair rinse instead of eat them. And then I've got half a red onion. And this is a tiny little block of dark chocolate that I've been using for the past like 7 years. I use this to grate onto desserts, like on tiramisus or cakes, just, you know, to make them look pretty or to give them a nice chocolate froth. I put it on hot chocolate as well sometimes. This is just some active dry yeast. It's almost full, but there's no calories in it, but I can use this to make bread with all the flour that I've got. And this is a mostly full bar of dark chocolate that our friends gave us. It's like 95% cacao. We tasted it. We actually kind of like it. We like really, really dark bitter chocolate, but I'm probably just going to use this in baking as baking chocolate. And then a whole pack of butter. I probably pulled this recently from the freezer. I usually at any point in time have like part of a stick of butter also in use, but miraculously I don't at the moment. However, I do have half a stick of margarine, the vegan butter. I made vegan cookies at Christmas for anyone who might be a vegan, so I've just been like slowly using up the rest of that, and I have half a stick of butter left. Oh yeah, also worth noting, I just keep this out by my stove. Garlic. And then here's a pack of grated Parmesan cheese, just free from Round Table that we're saving for a rainy day. So here's what's at the very, very bottom of my fridge. I've got 7 blood oranges, which I'm going to use in like an hour to make blood orange crepes. Check out my recipe for that. It's delicious. And I have these poor 7 russet potatoes that are getting so old they're sprouting. I'm going to be eating these over the next few days. I'm going to saute them actually in all this leftover bacon grease that I have from making those bacon pizzas and whatnot. So I saved that in the pan because I'm just going to fry up the potatoes in that pan. And I've got 3 carrots and a pack of celery. Celery is basically negative calories. So I'm not even going to count that, but you know, it'd be nice to go with the peanut butter or the tahini. And I got 5 yellow onions. I usually like to have some yellow onions on hand because most recipes can be improved with the addition of an onion.
What did you say? Really? 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 Hermione, you're adorable.
And here is the next shelf up on the fridge. You'll see it's a lot of tall items. We like to keep this for tall items. Some more condiments that won't fit in the door. Like a half a cup of red wine. As I said, I only use this in cooking. Almost out of fish sauce. Looks like I only have about a half a cup of fish sauce left as well. I have most of a bottle of vegan oyster sauce. We're not vegans, but my husband is deathly allergic to shellfish, so we have to use the vegetarian oyster sauce. Soy sauce, fun fact, it has calories. I did not know that, but yeah, this has calories. Soy sauce. You wouldn't want to just chug that because it's salty, but you know, use it to flavor things. Again, my husband's juice habit. We've got about a third of this bottle of pine orange guava. And my husband's Coke habit, pretty much all but 1 glass of Coke. And we got half a gallon of low-fat milk. This is 2 cups of reduced pear poaching liquid. I made poached pears. So I don't know how many calories is in there, just estimating. And this is baking soda, which every refrigerator should have. This is a yogurt container that actually has yogurt in it, and it's unopened. I'm going to use some of it in an hour in that blood orange crepes recipe. This is about half of a quart, so 2 cups of heavy whipping cream. I use this in my tea mostly, but sometimes in desserts. And this is like a mostly full can of evaporated milk. I opened it this morning to put in my tea. This is not live coconut yogurt. This is white wine. It came in a bottle that's too tall for my fridge. I hate that so much. It's like when I buy wine, I try to buy it so that it is short enough to fit in my fridge, but it's hard to find these days. Anyway, this is white wine. It's about 2 1/3 cups, and I'm going to use some of that in my blood orange crepes as well. And this is a giant bottle of ketchup. So when my husband and I moved in together here from California, he already had like 3 bottles of ketchup. One of them was even from his friends when they moved away, and then I also had some ketchup of my own. So we've been very, very slowly whittling down our ketchup, and now we have that one half-empty bottle in the door and this giant one. Eventually, we might finally run out of ketchup, but who knows? Okay, finally, we have arrived. The last of the food in the fridge and the last of the food in this entire apartment. Again, aside from our little stashes of candy by our beds, which at this point I'm inclined to just not count because I'm tired. This took a long time. Anyway, let's go through these. We have 7, count 'em, 7 black olives. My husband just likes to snack on these. Okay, we have only 1 serving was used of this chimichurri sauce. A friend gave it to us. This is dashi-iri miso, which means it has dashi in it. And miso, it's fermented soybean paste. I use it to make miso soup. It lasts forever, pretty much. I mean, not forever, but it lasts a very long time in the fridge, so it's a really good refrigerator staple to have. This is half. I had 2 servings, and now it's just a serving of the frozen bean chili from that $40 Food Month. This is 4 pieces of bacon, which is a quarter of this pack of bacon, and a whole dozen eggs, actually. I couldn't make it to Winco, so I got like these really nice organic cage-free ones, which I prefer to get anyway. These are 3 hot wings made with Hot Ones, The Last Dab sauce, if you guys have seen that show. It's really super hot. I made these for my husband a week ago about, and they were kind of too spicy even for him. I made like 12 total, and there's still 3, but the hot sauce preserves them, so they're probably still good, but not for long. This is 2/3 of a homemade spinach ricotta lasagna that I made a couple days ago, and Gina, my patron, got to see how I made that on the secret video. And this is half of the second bacon pepperoni pizza I made. It was so much better than the first because I fermented the dough longer in the fridge because it was leftover dough. I used less bacon, and I actually used a little more cheese. Price-wise, it's still kind of like worked out math-wise, so awesome. Here's all the mozzarella cheese I have left over. I've been eating it a little bit since, so not too much left. And then we also have 6 mozzarella cheese sticks. This is what we usually like to keep on hand because we can buy a giant pack of it and it'll last us a really long time. It won't go bad. Like if you buy a whole block of mozzarella and you don't use it up quickly enough, it can go bad, and I don't really like frozen mozzarella. So even though it's a bit wasteful plastic-wise, it works well for us. This is Beecher's cheese, a little tiny bit of their Marco Polo cheese. They are a local cheesemaker. They have a place in Pike Place Market that we love to go to sometimes. But I actually got this at our local QFC. It's a chain. Delicious cheese. And like 2 pieces of really spicy Italian salami to go with that. This is basically my husband's food. I love it a lot too, but I get it mostly for him to snack on when he's awake in the middle of the night and I can't cook for him. And then we have 2 jars of rendered fat. This is actually less fat than I usually have in the fridge. I think it's because I've been eating a lot more vegetarian food recently. But anyway, this fat is like chicken fat, and then this fat is bacon. Of course, we have much more bacon grease, but it's flavor and it's calories, and I can use it to cook things. And then we've got 6 ounces of homemade chocolate sauce. I actually made this back at Christmas when I made a Yule log, and like I've been very slowly using it up on other things. And then last but not least, these are 2 poached pears. It's this poached pear dessert that I make that's poached pears and chocolate sauce and ice cream and the blueberries. It is delicious, and we're going to eat that tomorrow for dinner, basically. So yeah, that was all of my food. So, the calorie totals were on all of those ingredients on the screen, and now I'm going to give you the grand totals. So the total calorie count for everything in the pantries is 252,238 calories. The total for all of the calories in the refrigerator is 37,593 calories. And the total for all the calories in the freezer is 22,925 calories, which means the grand total of all of our calories in the entire apartment is 312,756 calories. That's a lot of calories, so what does that exactly mean? I am currently on a diet, I'm losing weight, so I eat 1,700 calories a day. My husband does not track his calories, and he's kind of a sickly person. He gets frequent migraines, he's an insomniac, but I'd say rough estimate, he probably eats about 2,000 calories a day, and 600 of that is easily soda and fruit juice. I wish he didn't have that sugary habit, but he does. So, you know, basically, but we have a lot of sugar to go through, as you saw in that video, so no problem. So basically he eats 2,000 calories a day, I eat 1,700 a day, so combined that's 3,700 or 3,700 calories total per day for both of us. So if you divide that grand total of 312,756 calories by our daily need of 3,700 calories, we have enough food for 84 and a half days. So that's almost 3 months. Now that's as of basically 24 hours ago. Since I filmed what was in our fridge, pantry, and freezer, I did make those orange crepes. They were delicious. We ate those orange crepes. We ate some of the pizza. And by the time I post this video and you watch it, a few more days will have passed. So as of the making of this video, we have enough for 83 and a half days. Incidentally, our cats only have enough food for about a month and a half right now, so that's actually how long we'd last, is a month and a half, because our cats are our children and we have to take care of them. So what would we actually cook with all of these ingredients? Really, my eyes are on those 2 gigantic bags of rice. Just those 2 giant bags of long grain white rice and basmati rice alone, that's pretty much enough for me to make a big pot of rice every single day, like 6 days a week for 3 months practically. That's a lot of rice. It's like 60 pots of rice total in just those 2 giant bags. And then I had the other rices. I had the black rice, the brown rice, the sushi rice, the bamboo rice. So yeah, lots of rice. I probably make a pot of rice almost every single day. And I had a lot of fat to go with that rice: ghee, butter, coconut oil, olive oil, sesame oil, and then I had a lot of spices to go with that. So every single day, I'm sure I'd make a pot of flavorful rice with oil, some kind of fat, some kind of rice, water, and some spices. Again, this is not for a general emergency when maybe their water gets shut off, because in that case, in that scenario, we're dead in a week or so probably. But assuming we still have running water, we have Brita water filters, so we're good there. Yeah, can use the water to cook all the grains. That oatmeal I would combine with the powdered milk and the brown sugar, or some of those sugar syrups and the dried fruit and the nuts, and I'd make some loaded oatmeal. I'd make a batch of chocolate chip cookies with those chocolate chips. And then we probably would stretch out the items in our freezer just as special treats, because otherwise it's very, very grain heavy is what I found. I'd probably do like a tahini dressing and or some frozen peas on the side of those rice dishes. I would probably, every once in a while, we'd thaw out a pot pie and we'd eat it as a special treat. Same goes for that pork. That would be like special, like we'd try to stretch that out quite a bit. And that Genovese pasta sauce, which is a meat sauce. We don't have very much meat. So in a more ideally stocked pantry, I would have more protein, really. I would have more canned milk. I'd have more powdered milk. I'd have more canned goods in general. I'd have more canned tomatoes, probably, to make things taste good. And I would have more meat in the freezer, as well as a bigger carton of eggs. Usually I have like a lot of eggs in the fridge, but at the moment I haven't been able to go to Winco in a while. It's really far away, so I only have a dozen at the moment. I'd make a bunch of loaves of bread and a bunch of tortillas and have that with peanut butter and jelly and butter. So there's a lot of things that we could do, and a lot of like regular foods that we could cook. It would just be extremely grain heavy. So how long could you survive quarantine based off of what you have in your house right now? Let me know, and stay safe, everyone.